Welcome to the September 14th, 2023 regular meeting of the Human Services Advisory Board. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. on September 21st. And actually, it's supposed to be the September 21st meeting out here. And okay, so thank you all for attending. We're going to do a quick roll call for the record of the board member attendance. Yancy?
Present.
Clayton?
Here.
Sharif is here. Monica Gonzalez? Monica, okay. Joanne Parsons?
Here.
Perfect, thank you. Gloria Quinn? Yeah, okay, Gloria's there.
Here.
And then Courtney Welch will be out, and Mariana Zamora, non-voting.
Present.
Okay, perfect.
Can
Okay,
we check on the sound real quick?
Yeah.
Gloria, is the sound better? Because I know you have been the one who brought it up. So we have the microphone in the middle now. Can you hear Sherry? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'll tell you more once I hear more from them, but it does sound, because last time it sounded like you were at the bottom of some tin can or something.
Okay. Okay, good. We'll go with it then. Okay, thanks. Sorry.
okay, so we're gonna go to item number 3, citizen comment period. Staff, is anyone present in person, online, or by phone? Speak from the citizen comment period?
No.
Doesn't look like it, okay. Item number 4, minutes are not yet available for the September 7th, 2023 and September 14th, 2023 meetings. So we will approve those minutes at a later meeting. So we're gonna move on to the presentations. So just gonna do a quick reminder, we'll now receive a 5-minute presentation by the applicant agency for each program that was listed on this evening's agenda. Each agency will receive a 30-second warning as the 5-minute time limit is approaching, but the time limit is somewhat flexible. Each presentation will be followed by a 10-minute question and answer session between the board members and the agency regarding the program or application. Members of the public are welcome to listen to the presentations, but will not take part in the discussions or questions or the question and answer session. Each program will receive 15 minutes total for the presentation and the question and answer session. Seeing that I'm a voting member of the board, I'm gonna devote my attention to the presentations themselves. So staff will introduce the presenters and track for the time as best possible. Okay, so Carol, are you ready?
Okay, yes. Okay, we are set to go. Sorry. So our first presenters are Hayes County Food Bank, the General Operations Program, and the presenter is Lisa Young. And then I know you also have someone else with you, so if you'd introduce them as well, that'd be great.
I do. Hi, I'm Lisa Young. I'm the kind of new executive director, so bear with me, of the food bank here. And I'm sure some of you already know Jessica Cruz. She's our senior programs director here, and sitting beside me in case I don't know stuff, because she knows a lot more than me. And we'd like to thank you, first of all, for having us. The city has been a great supporter of the food bank over the years. We've been here for 40 years, serving people in San Marcos. We serve thousands of people a month, and we have identified that 6,300 of the people that we serve are residents of San Marcos with the San Marcos address. We serve unhoused people. We serve people who were temporarily housed in motel situations who were formerly unhoused. We serve homebound seniors and disabled people, as well as our drive-up distribution, which we have here at our location on Mondays. We'd love to see you come volunteer. And we will also be serving 1,800 people through for our holiday meal box for our turkey project. Now, one thing that we have seen, I know that we're asking for a lot of money. We're asking for more than we got last time, and there's a reason for that. We have seen the need go constantly up this year, and that's been because of a couple of different reasons. I'm sure you're all aware of the inflation rate, and when you look up the general inflation rate, it's even higher if you parse out what is for groceries and food in that rate. I've looked at the forecast for next year, and it will not be going back down. So we have made that makes people have more of a need to use our services because there's just too much month at the end of the money, like they say. And it makes our expenses go up too for some of the food items that we have to purchase are actually more expensive than they used to be, along with other just general things. Jessica can be my witness here. We have broken records every day for the past few weeks in the number of people who have shown up to use to get groceries from us. It's just higher every week, and our expenses are just going up constantly because of that. So that is one of the reasons that we're asking for more. Besides food assistance, we do serve as advocates to try to bring about systemic change in that. That's why we're both in orange. It's the color of Hunger Awareness Month, and we have been advocating for a stronger farm bill that would bring in more money for people to use in the grocery store in the form of SNAP. I don't know if you're aware of the cuts to SNAP. All of the supplemental cuts that were brought in for COVID have sunsetted, and people who used to be able to probably get almost 1,300 meals per year with SNAP can only get about 730 meals. And we believe that sunsetted in March. So we believe that that has been a huge contributor to our numbers. And if, just like all of us, if you've been to the grocery store, you know that it takes a lot fewer bags for $100 worth of groceries than it used to. The need has just been going up. But like I said, besides providing food, we do advocate for systemic change. Our approach is to use both our own expertise as well as our partner expertise and client voice. And we are incorporating more client voice into our ongoing approach to make sure that we're competently serving our neighbors in a culturally competent, and we address a lot of vulnerable and marginalized populations. And so we definitely want to be sensitive to that. We keep constant measures of our outcomes, and we have a lot of, when you fund us, you're not just funding literally just this one organization. We have probably about 30, and Jessica is going to talk to you about the ones that are actually in San Marcos, of partners that we are actually providing the food for their programs. Jessica?
Yeah, so we have somewhere between 20 to 30 agencies pretty consistently throughout the year. It kind of fluctuates based on whether or not school is in session. But right now in San Marcos, we have 17 agencies that we help provide the food for an offsite food pantry. So we provide services to hundreds of families every week. They help extend our reach by several hundred as well. So every time that we get money and we're able to purchase food, we're able to help provide food for organizations such as Southside Community Center. Yes, it's just a supplement, but we do help them with that, with the Women's Shelter, with First Baptist in BC, which has received funding in the past from this organization to expand their food pantry, Access, and a couple of senior organizations like the Senior Center, which is through Community Action. So we work with several organizations, and some of them are weekly pantries that they help provide and help extend our reach in the community, to help reach the communities that we can't reach or maybe don't have transportation. And so really helping to support us, help support and make our community stronger.
I think those partnerships almost double our reach. Like I know in our unhoused, the Salvation Army, we're providing 2-day food bags for them as well. So I feel like we're a good use of dollars because our spread is pretty wide.
Okay, we are at 5 minutes, so I just thought I'd let you know. I didn't.
Okay, we're ready for questions.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and switch over to the question and answer period.
Hi, good evening. I appreciate y'all speaking to kind of like the rationale for like the increase in funding. I know that I'm one of those people who like monitors Facebook groups when people are anonymously asking for help, and a few times I've recommended y'all's services, and I know like the biggest thing I probably hear from people is struggling with transportation to get to sites for distribution. How do y'all kind of navigate these requests with people y'all might come face to face with, or what resources do y'all kind of recommend people to?
Okay, yeah. So one of the ways that we can help people who are homebound or without transportation is our home delivery program. That one is very specifically for seniors without transportation who live within San Marcos city limits, and that is one of our requirements. That's one way we can help people. We are limited, of course, by our resources and the funding that we're able to secure for it. But then another resource that we have is through our last mile sites. The partner agencies we were talking about 3 of them, 4 of them do deliveries. So they come pick up food from us, and then they already know these people, they have relationships with them, and they can take the food directly to them. So if we can't work with them, then we refer them out to one of these other sites, and then they can incorporate them as they're able to help provide those services. Another way that we're able to help people without transportation is we offer something, and this is required for us through our TFAP organizations, is to offer people the ability to name a proxy. Now, a proxy is somebody that they trust, that they know, a friend, a neighbor, a family member, somebody that they know and trust to be able to come to our distributions and pick up food for them. Any one individual can pick up for their household plus 2 other households, so for 3 households total. So it does help people who are homebound. Maybe they have a neighbor who is already going to the distribution, or who's off of work at that time and can take them. And so those are some of the ways that we can help people who don't have transportation, because if they live way out in the middle, out in Redwood, and they don't have transportation to get to our site here in downtown, knowing that a neighbor or a family member can come pick up for them is helpful.
And our clients use that regularly. We
Very.
that is something that they really do take advantage of. Neighbors, churches, extended family groups that are all picking up for each other. As long as we have them already listed as the proxy, that's something we can accommodate.
And it's really easy. They just call us and say,
That's
hey,
very
I want,
simple.
Mhm.
We have very few barriers to service. And in fact, we are also a navigation point to helping people get their SNAP benefits so that they can get the maximum food benefit. We will actually help navigate people through the website for that.
That's wonderful. Thank you for the information.
Okay, Clayton, you had your hand up?
Yes, good evening, y'all. I just had a couple questions. The first one is, what is the average composition of a food bag that y'all hand out?
so
It's different all the time, and it's so much
Yes.
fun. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yes. The basics of it are frozen protein. We strive to do at least one, although recently we've been very lucky to be able to do at least 2 or 3 every single week. It has baked goods, which usually is at least one non-dessert item, and then
Like a
one dessert
bread.
item. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a bread item and then a sweet item. Sometimes I really like them.
I'm sorry, for some reason, we're having trouble hearing Jessica. You just muted or something. Yeah, try again. Thank you.
Okay, we'll try again. Okay. So we do the frozen protein, and like I said, we try to do at least 1 a week, or we don't try, we do 1 a week. And then if we can, and we've been lucky lately to be able to have access to more frozen protein, so it's 2 to 3 a week. And then we offer the baked goods, so a bread that's not sweet, and then a sweet item. If we can, we do 2 or 3 of each of them. We also offer a variety of dry goods, so like the stuff you see back here for us. So this week, for example, it's mac and cheese, rice, pinto beans, cereal, and chili, I think. But it can be anywhere from 5 to 10 items, and then at least 10 pounds of fresh produce that we're able to source on a weekly basis. So it's always going to contain those items. Sometimes it's more of the dry goods and less of the fresh produce. Sometimes it's more of the fresh produce and less of the dry goods. Kind of depends on what we're able to secure and purchase and bring in, and what is donated to us on a weekly basis. But our goal is to provide at least 30% of the food that we give out each week to be fresh produce, and we have met that goal every single month so far this year. Each bag can weigh on average on a weekly basis anywhere from 25 to 45 pounds.
We have actually a couple of other streams of food that we're giving out that are a little bit different. If you were unhoused, you would not want me to hand you a whole raw chicken, because what would you do with that? So we are definitely, we provide bags where people can come once a week and pick up a bag if they are temporarily unhoused, which would have more ready to eat foods in it, more portable foods, more to go foods. Also, we have different boxes that are going to the motel and homebound deliveries that are sort of hybrid in between those two, so that they do have more ready to eat stuff they could make in the microwave, cereals and things like that if they don't have a full kitchen. And Jessica, I know that you've recently looked up the number, our usual box of how much that is worth in grocery?
Yeah, so I haven't done the numbers so far like this year with our new inflation numbers, but at the beginning of the year, our average that we were saving people when they went to the store was somewhere between $50 and $70 every single week.
And that will be up, the inflation rate for that would be about 7.5%. And now the food that I was talking about, as far as the ready to eat and all that, that stuff is expensive and we do have to purchase that. So that is a considerable cost for us.
Thank you so much for that detailed information. My second question is, you mentioned in Mariana's response to her question that you had some barriers to service. Could you just describe a couple of those if you would?
Actually, no, I was saying that we actually keep very low barriers to service. So for instance, all of our application is self-reported. We're going to ask you questions. If you tell me you need food, you're getting food. I'm not going to say, show me some pay stubs. I'm not going to say, show me proof that, don't bring in your children's social security cards. We're not looking for that. We're looking to make sure groceries get into your car. So we do have certain guidelines that we have to go by as far as need and eligibility, but like I said, we're keeping those barriers as low as we can so that everyone can be in. We don't want someone, when you talk about access, besides what Mariana was saying about transportation, another is fear to come. We don't want anyone thinking that they're going to be scrutinized. Maybe they have a warrant out. Maybe they're unsure what their son's immigration status is. Nobody needs to worry about that. We're keeping the barriers as low as we can.
I appreciate the clarification. Thanks, y'all.
Sure.
Are there other barriers to access to service that, you mentioned a couple, transportation, fear of coming, or just,
Sure.
reluctance to
Those kind of
come?
things. There are a lot of things like that actually nationwide. I was just reading a report, some of the myths that people think about applying for government services. A lot of people sometimes will think that we are part of the government and that they have a fear of that. One thing that we know that sometimes we might clog the streets with traffic as people are trying to get to our distributions, but we have resisted unless we absolutely have to. We're not going to want law enforcement at that, because we don't want that fear of people seeing law enforcement at the food bank and thinking that they'll be in trouble if the police see them. We do have that. We have bilingual staff, so we're trying to remove the barrier of people who don't speak English. Sometimes we come across someone, though. We have one client who only speaks Russian, and we're using technology to make sure that we can communicate with that person and make sure that they have what they need. So that is a great thing. That technology has come a long way in being able to translate and get people served. Other barriers are just people knowing what their rights are to get food at all. And we see that everywhere. We recently had an instance where one of our Facebook posts went, and when I tell you viral, we had millions of views on this one Facebook post, and it was just our weekly "Here's where to get food," which was in English and Spanish. And someone in another country, in a Spanish-speaking country, picked up on that to ask where the food was. And we answered, "This is Texas, but here's Feeding America. Look for your own city." And so many people across the world, the Spanish-speaking world particularly, commented wishing that they had the kind of access that we have here in San Marcos, that they couldn't believe how easy it was for us to get food, and they saw the pictures of what we were giving away and they couldn't believe it. And they were like, we actually had people saying, "Come to my city." And it was about 2.3 million hits on that.
Wow. So are you, the SNAP thing, it got, really reduced, like you said.
Absolutely.
Are you trying to make up for that? How does the SNAP play into what you provide?
Well, the most impactful way it does is that it increases the need for our services. So we flat out have more people in line needing food because their SNAP money just doesn't go as far as it used to, between being reduced and between grocery prices being up. So the money just isn't what it used to be. So
that doesn't come out of their funds though, right? What they're eligible for SNAP?
No,
No,
No.
I didn't think so, but I was just wondering how,
It
you
just
know.
it just makes more people who maybe 4 months ago they wouldn't have come to our services because they would have had enough SNAP money to get them by. Now they don't. So now
Okay.
we just have more people in line. We have, besides having more users every week, we have more first time applicants every week than we ever did before.
Wow.
Even during the height of COVID. Do you
Yes,
agree?
no, absolutely. It's the numbers we're serving now are higher than our COVID numbers, and our COVID numbers were, to be cliched, unprecedented. So it's true, like we're seeing a true increase in need right now.
This is more.
It's
And
more than
the other
COVID? Wait a minute, it was more than,
absolutely,
Yes,
get
it
out
is
of here.
absolutely
More than COVID. Whoa.
by a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
And you used the term advocate for systemic change a couple of times,
Sure.
which, you know, I guess that's something that you guys are trying to do more of, or see the need more of. But what does that mean exactly, that you're trying
Sure.
to?
Well, there's two things. One thing that we've always done, like I said, is to navigate for people to have, to get their own individual SNAP benefits so that they can have the agency to go to the grocery store and use that. So that is like kind of a micro level of systemic change. But we also, particularly me, since I'm here, advocate with our legislators. This is a farm bill year. It only comes up once every 5 years that there's an opportunity to increase SNAP benefits and TFAP.
Ah,
Right. So whatever we end up with this year, we've got till 2028. And it hasn't been voted on yet. What typically happens during farm bill years is it's supposed to be this year. It probably won't be voted on until January or February. They usually extend that time. So this is the time to be advocating to our lawmakers in Washington, because this is a federal thing, that we need a strong farm bill, and we don't get another shot for another 5 years. So that is something that we are actively advocating for ourselves by contacting lawmakers. And we also are pushing it on our website and through our partners and our board for other people to also contact their lawmaker and say that we need a strong farm bill.
okay, and the farm bill helps you out because if
This
they get
farm bill, so there are
subsidized, you get more,
no.
money? No.
We do not. People get more SNAP benefits. The SNAP benefits are part of the farm bill. The free lunch
Oh.
program at school is part of the farm bill.
I did not know that. All right. And the do you help people try to obtain SNAP benefits, or do you send them somewhere else for that help?
Yeah, so we are a community partner program site, and it's CPP is the shortened version of that. We're CPP navigators here. We have one on staff right now, and we're looking to hire somebody else to be a second staff member to do that. And it is an authorized formal process through Texas Health and Human Services to be able to help somebody navigate not only SNAP, but WIC benefits, TANF benefits, SSI, Medicaid, even any sort of federal government benefits that can be applied for through your Texas benefits, our staff member can help apply for. And so like I said, we have one on staff right now. When we hire our second staff member, we'll have two people on staff to be able to meet the needs. We have agreements worked out with the different libraries. So if somebody cannot come to us directly, they can meet us at a public site that we can help them, again, navigate through this process, help them with the scanning, help them understand some of the legal language that goes into it. It can be a very daunting task, especially for somebody who's older or somebody who doesn't have regular internet access. While I think it might be really easy, it's not easy for everybody. So that's why we have the staff member.
It typically
And it's
takes
just a walk-in kind of thing? They just walk in and say, hey, can I talk to you?
I want to interrupt real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm asking too many
We're,
questions.
we're running long. I just
All right,
thought
never mind.
we're already at 20 minutes, and I know Yancy also has questions. So we're getting lots of good information. I just, we will need to cut it off at some point, so.
No, all right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just have two questions. Can you tell me more about where you get your fresh produce from, and how have you been able to manage your food and packing waste?
Yeah, so where we get our fresh produce from. So we have an agreement with Central Texas Food Bank. We are able to order through their processes to order the fresh stuff that we hand out at our public food distributions. When we serve more than 700 households every single week, there's no way for us to be able to source that at our local grocery stores like very regularly. So we order from Central Texas Food Bank, and it's a USDA product, it's TFAP product, and it's product that they're able to source at a lower cost from maybe like Walmart places a big order of cilantro, for example. Maybe it's happened this week, where then they have like 25 pallets that they have to get rid of, and so we're one of the beneficiaries of that. The other place that we get our most of our fresh food from is actually from the local grocery store. So we go to the HEBs in Buda, Kyle, here in San Marcos, the Walmarts. We go to the Sam's Club, the Costco's, and we pick up 5 days a week from those stores, and we and Targets. We pick up all of that fresh stuff. It comes back, and then we have it processed, sorted here by volunteers and by trained staff members. And then anything that is safe to eat for humans to eat, we keep and we save it here. We try to give it out the same day or the next day. So within 24 hours, 48 hours of it arriving here at our warehouse, it's back out in the community in somebody's fridge, hopefully. But if it's not safe to eat, we actually have a food waste and recycling program. And so we work with composters, gardeners, farmers, ranchers. They come pick up the food waste from us, and then they take it back to their homes, and they give it to their chickens, their pigs, their cows. They use it to compost. They use it to compost in their garden. And that leads us to the third very small amount of fresh produce that we get is actually from the local community gardens, Alamo Gardens, Dunbar Gardens, and then some of the local farmers will actually come and drop off. If they can't sell it at market, they might come give it to us so that we can hand it out and anywhere else. As far as plastic waste goes, we have a giant recycling bin here that we constantly are putting things in. We have lots of cardboard waste. We have a lot of plastic waste, but we do recycle it using the City of San Marcos resources.
Thank you.
That
That was
good?
it.
Okay, we really should stop.
I have one question.
Oh, okay, Sharif, go ahead.
The only question I have is, you only have one location here in San Marcos, right? Are there any other locations in Hays County?
So we do a mobile food pantry. This is our only location, but then we send our vans out for distributions throughout the county, not just in San Marcos, but in Buda, Kyle, and Wimberley. We actually have one next Saturday at Ulen Elementary that we only do periodically. And then, as Jessica was talking about earlier, our last mile sites, we partner with these 30 other agencies that are churches and schools and everything, so that we can be in the neighborhoods, literally trying to be within a mile of your house. And that is that almost doubles our reach as far as how many families we're able to serve.
So we have 17 sites right now in San Marcos.
And those
In
are all,
addition to our public food distributions, it's 17 off-site that is volunteer run, that they serve different households than we serve. And I can tell you this because I do the numbers myself. I do all the data entry for that. They're completely different clients. They're clients that we don't serve at our food distributions that only access our food through these other last mile sites. And like I said, we have about 17 of those.
and then, but we are the only location that is the hub for receiving the bulk of the food and then distributing it either with our own vans that we're running, or some of these last mile sites come and pick up their food weekly and take it back to their site.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Lots of good information. We are at 24 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop. And then we will switch to our next speaker, and I'm gonna turn off your video, Hays County Food Bank. You're welcome to stay and listen. After all the presentations, the board will discuss things somewhat. You're welcome to listen in. There won't be another chance to interact, really. So, okay, so now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stop the video, and I'm gonna go back over and pick up. Okay, Carrie, I think you'll be able to start your video now. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. What I'm doing this time is stopping the video of anybody who isn't presenting, and then I'll start them when we, so that we have a bigger screen or whatever. So now we have Carrie Borman, and she will do our next 3 presentations. We have asked Hays Caldwell Women's Center to do a presentation for each program that they're applying for. So the first one is, this is Hays Caldwell Women's Center. the non-residential family violence and transitional housing program. And the presenter is Carrie Borland.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the food bank. We are one of those partner agencies that benefits from their distribution. So thank you so much for that work. To start out, I'm going to be talking about our family violence program, which is in combination with our transitional housing program. I'm just going to forward slides here so you can see our philosophy and mission. I won't read those to you. I do want to let you know that last year we served over 2,000 clients. We served 2,269, and 665 of those were residents of San Marcos. Of that number, 391 were victims of family violence. And so that's an increase from the previous year. We provided over 8,000 safe nights of shelter in our emergency family violence shelter. And we have been operating at capacity for over 3 years. So our shelter is full, and we'll combine rooms when we need to and put more than one person in a room if we have singles. But because of this need for more space, we've expanded into our attic and actually created more rooms. So those are now done, construction's complete, and we're ready to start housing families there. Relatively new to us is our transitional housing program. This, I know I talked to you guys about this a little bit last year, but our emergency family violence shelter is not a long-term solution. The clients stay there generally for about a month. And we know that the two greatest barriers to women and children leaving an abusive home are lack of affordable housing, which is a huge problem in Hays County, and lack of affordable childcare. So we have created a facility that has both. We have an early Head Start right on site, which is custom built for kids. And we have very low cost rent or no cost rent for women and children who need it while they're staying with us. We've currently got 14 families staying in our transitional housing complex. We do outcomes, what we call outcomes, for all of our clients and all of our programs quarterly. So these are just some quotes from our transitional housing and family violence shelter clients. One saying that she feels safer here than she did in her own apartment or in her mom's house. She finds the shelter to be very comfortable and grateful to be here. Another said that they were so grateful to HCWC during this time, and it has given her and her children a safe haven, which is priceless. And another one said, HCWC saved my life. So we are really dealing with really critical cases. A lot of our clients in shelter come in directly from a domestic violence call with law enforcement. And very often when those clients' time at shelter has reached the end, we are able to transition them into transitional housing, which really offers an opportunity for these women to get on their feet and find sustainable, independent housing. Our total number of unduplicated direct service clients for family violence next year is going to be 430, and that is an increase from this year. And I kept that kind of short because I wanted to allow plenty of time for questions, and I also have 2 more presentations, so I didn't want to go on and on. But any questions about this program?
And y'all go ahead and start.
So on average, how many total families does this specific program help per year?
The transitional housing complex can house up to, and we have 18 units, so 18 families at a time. And the shelter, I think it's 15 rooms without the attic addition. And some of those are family rooms. So each family stays in their own individual family room. They're not in like a big dorm kind of setting. And last year for family violence, it was over 300 clients who were residents of San Marcos.
When you say clients, do you mean total people or families?
Individual people. So a woman and her children would be multiple clients.
Okay. And
we do serve, I keep saying women and children, we serve all adults, youth, and children. it is predominantly women and children.
I want to raise my hand. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna raise my hand.
Okay. Gloria, go ahead.
So, the majority of the people are that you serve are from San Marcos, correct?
I would not say the majority. We serve all of Hays and Caldwell County. So we have a lot of San Marcos residents, but all of Kyle, Buda, and Caldwell. We're the only
Oh, okay.
emergency shelter in both of those counties.
All right. But you did say that you serve 300 residents of San Marcos.
Yes, in family violence program alone, 391 residents of San Marcos last year.
391 in family violence alone. Okay, but you served a total of 430 families, so that's still a lot of folks from San Marcos.
Yes, and 400 actually is the number that we expect to serve the next year.
Okay.
It's going up each year.
Oh, so you're projecting that, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
So who do you see more of? The Caldwell, or what's the other county?
Hays County.
Yeah, Hays is, San Marcos, obviously.
Yes, we see more Hays County residents than we do Caldwell.
Okay. Well, it's smaller, isn't it?
Yes, and it's a little, since our office is in San Marcos, I think we have more kind of recognition here. We're
Sure.
doing a lot of outreach in Caldwell County, but people in San Marcos tend to know who we are a little bit quicker than they would in, say, Lockhart.
Okay.
I had a question. The request for funding this year is significantly more than last year for this particular program. Could you speak a little bit to the rationale for that?
Sure. So it's partly because our numbers are increasing, but it's also largely because of transitional housing. Since that's a new program, the family violence money used to go just to the family violence emergency shelter and our non-residential family violence program. But now that we're involving transitional housing, that's a lot of programming.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions on this program?
How many total employees does this program have?
I'm sorry, did you say total employees?
Yeah.
Well, there's 50 at HCWC. Transitional housing currently has 2, and there are, I think, 8 full-time in our emergency violence shelter, plus 4 relief in the emergency violence shelter. And then we also have some counselors who are not in the shelter who serve non-residential clients. And I think there's probably 4 of those. So upwards of 15.
Of
15,
upwards of 50
15, 15.
for where's the 15 come in?
For the employees in the family violence program. So including shelter, transitional housing, and then we have a couple of non-residential counselors who work with family violence victims.
Well, and you got a lot of volunteers too, I suspect.
We do, yes.
Okay. How much of this funding goes for salary? I don't have your paperwork in front of me. Down long, you don't want to know.
Well, our programming cost in this program is over 80%, but the money from this grant application would not go directly to salaries. It would go towards programming in general.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I got some allergies and I can't hear. 80% is what?
Programming, so not general administration or fundraising cost.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So in looking at the financials and the paperwork, why are the costs for bank services so high?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. The cost for what?
Bank services, $10,000.
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that, but I can talk with our accountant and get an answer for you.
Yeah, because that is excessively high.
So then, yes, if you'll just email the answer to me, Carol Griffith,
You
then
got it.
I can send it to the board.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, you don't know what that it all involves, so you can't really. I mean, not even
Unfortunately,
spec-
yeah,
ahead.
I'm not very well versed in the accounting portion, but I will get an answer for you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for this program? You still have 5 minutes technically for this program.
Any other questions?
So does an actual financial firm or a CPA do these numbers?
Yes, we have a CPA on staff.
Okay.
Our chief, yes.
Wow.
Any other questions, y'all? Sorry, I don't mean to rush you. I just want to make sure.
No, I know. And where you get other funding from where again?
Federal, state, individuals, and foundations. We also have a few fundraisers throughout the year. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I'll move on to our next program, which is Roxanne's House, our Children's Advocacy Center. We are the only Children's Advocacy Center serving Hays and Caldwell County. Last year we served, let's see. Last year alone, we conducted 654 forensic interviews, which was up from the year before. And if you're not familiar with a forensic interview, basically what that is, when there's an allegation of child abuse, the child comes to our Children's Advocacy Center here in Roxanne's House and has an interview with a trained professional where law enforcement and CPS are viewing the interview from another room. So it's not going to intimidate the child and they're not going to have to repeat their story more than once. So not only do we have our forensic interviewers on staff, we also have licensed children's counselors who can then work with our kids for 6 months or longer if needed. We expect to serve over 200 San Marcos residents in Roxanne's House alone next year, and of those 140 will be kids. The adults that you're seeing here, the 98 adults, those are their protective caregivers who can also receive advocacy and resources from Roxanne's House. I already mentioned the forensic interviews. That's a pretty dramatic increase from the previous year, and we do expect those to keep rising. We saw a slight dip in forensic interviews the first year of COVID when kids were being schooled at home, because very often the reporters of child abuse are teachers and administrators in the school. But since kids are back in school, that number has just been steadily rising. Just like we do in our family violence program, we do outcomes with the kids that we serve and their parents. So I've just typed up some of those here so you can see what these kids themselves are saying about their experience here. One said she didn't know where she would be without her counselor. The counselor is always advocating and supporting her, goes above and beyond, and has really helped process what she's been through. A parent, one of the protective caregivers of our kids at Roxanne's House, said that counseling has been very impactful. Her child actually likes coming in, enjoys seeing the counselor. The counselor is very accommodating with schedules. You can imagine with kids being in school all day, it's hard to get them here between 9 and 5. So our children's counselors will change their schedule as needed, come in later and stay later so they can accommodate evening appointments. And this person's child's mental health had really improved since attending counseling here. Let me see if I have anything else on Roxanne's House. Last year, we served 217 San Marcos residents at Roxanne's House. Again, we expect our number next year for San Marcos alone to be 238. Let's see. That's about all I've got for Roxanne's House, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, and I'm just gonna assume y'all can start in. Yeah, I don't know if you're waiting on me, so go ahead.
But you did 654 forensic interviews, huh?
Yes,
And that's is that initial interviews or is that
yes,
include file 654 initials?
yes.
Well, that's a lot, man.
Yes, that's anytime there's an allegation of child abuse that's being investigated by CPS and law enforcement, that child comes here for the interview.
So it does seem that you expect the number to continue to rise. What do you think are some of the factors that are driving that?
Mostly it's just the how quickly Hayes County is growing. So the more people come in, unfortunately, the more problems. That number pretty much every year has steadily increased, with the only dip being that 1 year of COVID, of kids staying home. So sadly, we just keep seeing that number rise.
Okay, any other questions about this program?
Out of, I guess, I'm just gonna say it. Out of those 654 initial forensic interviews, like how many continued services and like what was the average amount of time that they spent at Roxanne's house receiving services?
It's
Good
usually
question.
about 6 months. But if the case is going to be prosecuted, if it's a case that's actually going to go to court and be prosecuted, even if we've finished counseling with that child, let's say 6 months has gone by and they're in a good place with counseling, they'll come back in for what we call court school, so that someone can kind of help them prepare for what court is going to be like. They might be in the courthouse with their abuser for the first time, seeing them in quite some time. So those services can be ongoing. Of those over 600 forensic interviews, we saw over 200 kids. So it varies year to year, but that was about what we did last year.
And then what is the average age of the children that y'all serve?
It goes up to age 18. I don't know the median age. I don't know the average age, but we see real little kids all the way up to teenagers.
So would you say the youngest would be like under 3 years old that y'all seen or have served?
Yes, and of course those forensic interviews can be a little bit challenging. I wouldn't say that's super common. We don't have a lot of kids under the age of 3. We definitely have had some. It's typically a little bit older than that.
Okay.
Are there any of these other agencies you work pretty closely with? Because, like the special advocate, or the Child Protective Board, or
We do, yes. And Roxanne's House also works with what we call a multidisciplinary team. They meet regularly, and that's going to involve the DA's office, law enforcement, CPS, and CASA. So we do partner with other agencies, but we are the only place that does the forensic interviews and the follow-up counseling.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. And the multidisciplinary team meets monthly, or?
Yes.
How long have you guys had this service? Is this a relatively?
HCWC has been here since 1978, and Roxanne's House opened in the 90s. I think it was 96.
Oh, okay. 96?
Yes.
It's been around for a while.
Are the facilities in a floodplain?
Oh, I don't think so.
Why do you ask? It's an interesting question, dude.
$16,000 in insurance for flood.
Okay, then I can check on that as well. We've never flooded from a flood, but I can definitely check out. if we're in a flood.
Yeah, because again, that seems excessively high for something that's never happened.
No, okay. There's something in there about flood insurance?
Yeah, it's part of the insurances that they have listed on here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And $16,000. I mean,
Carrie, you might check, I mean, of course, I think it's Michelle, right, who would know
Yes.
they may have to have flood insurance because they've received funding in order to build their structures. And so you might take that into consideration. So that may be something to check into. There may be a requirement behind that from some of the funding.
Thank you for mentioning that. I'll definitely talk to Michelle about it.
Yeah, because that's weird if you're not in a flood zone. And you're not.
yeah, because that would make no sense to have flood insurance on a structure that is not in a flood zone. Because if there was
Well,
water
we
break,
are,
something like that.
we are very close to the Blanco River, so it's entirely possible, and I just don't know the answer.
Okay.
Ah,
No, that's fair.
okay.
Okay, I'll move on to our last program, which is our sexual assault program. We receive usually about 500 helpline calls each year just about sexual assault. We receive way more helpline calls than that, but specifically 500 about sexual assault. We have a team here called our Heart Team. It's each and every one of us staff members is on the Heart Team, where we respond to victims at hospitals, at all the local hospitals. Last year, we responded to 90 victims. So anytime someone comes in with a sexual assault in need of what we know of as a rape kit, HCWC is dispatched, and one of us goes out to meet that person at the hospital and stay with them, answer any questions. We can be there during their exam if they want us to be. And we expect that number to go up next year as well. Our Heart Team is on call 24/7, 365. So we have somebody covering every holiday, every day of the year, all night long. Last year, I know I already mentioned we served over 2,000 clients, and 264 of those were San Marcos residents who had experienced sexual assault. So it's a fairly large problem here in San Marcos, and we do have specialized sexual assault counselors on staff who work with that population. Again, with our outcomes, I've just put up some quotes from that I pulled from our outcomes from clients who have received services for sexual assault. A lot of them have very positive things to say about their counselor. Because our counselors are trauma informed and specialized in this area, they know how to deal with people who have experienced this more than maybe some other counselors would. One said that her counselor is honestly one that she's only a counselor she's felt safe talking to. We do also have a group setting for counseling for a sexual assault group. And this client said that the counseling group has given them an outlet that they've been needing, that the counselors are very helpful and understanding, and she could not have wished for better help. We do, of course, as I mentioned before, work with not only women who have experienced sexual assault, but any adult or youth who has experienced this. It's a fairly large program here, and our numbers fluctuate a little bit year to year with hospital response, but we do anticipate that those are going to keep going up. So we don't see this this need decreasing anytime soon. Any questions about the sexual assault program?
Any questions about the program?
You get any idea if the rape kits are backlogged?
I would assume they are, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a fair question, but I was just wondering if maybe you had some inside, because it's pretty rampant everywhere.
Yes, I do know that sexual assault is not very often prosecuted for a variety of reasons.
Right. So, I mean, do the victims get follow-up, like the status? I'm sure they ask.
Some
know.
do, some don't want to file with law enforcement. But if they want more information and they want follow-up, they will get that. And then they, of course, anytime we respond to a hospital call, which is anytime there is one, the hospital emergency rooms are trained to call us. We ask the person there if they want to follow up from us. So then we can automatically call and start scheduling services with us if they want.
So just because they present with a complaint of sexual assault doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be any legal pursuit.
Correct.
They just go to the hospital because, you know, they're traumatized, obviously, and
Yes.
they just want, I guess, the option.
Yes,
know.
and very often they want a physical, and to be given, you know, STI preventives and to check for injury. Often they are also interested in law enforcement. So there's the option for both.
And medication. I'm sure they hand out
Absolutely.
STD stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So there's not a large percentage of people that pursue it legally.
There's not a large percentage who pursue it legally, and those that do, there's not a large percentage of those that actually go to trial.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And does the Heart team help them out? I mean, other than going to the hospital with them and counseling, and I mean, are they? How far does the relationship go? I mean, do they plug them into some other resource for, you know, trauma counseling, or do they stick with the counselor? And
it can be both.
well, it's not really a counselor, right? Not necessarily a counselor that goes in there to the hospital to help.
Yes, exactly right. For example, I'm not a counselor and I go to the hospital as an advocate all the time. So
Yeah.
the person wouldn't actually be seeing me, but I would give their information to our advocates who would reach out and schedule counseling if they were interested to someone here. But we will definitely provide other information or resources if asked. Also, and you may already know this, but when a person presents at the hospital for a rape kit, it's not just any nurse that can do that. There's a specially trained forensic nurse, and there's not that many in this area. So we would often be waiting at the hospital with this person for a couple hours until that nurse can show up, or we would transport them to another hospital where there's a forensic nurse on call at that time. So we can, you know, provide transportation and advocate for them while they're even waiting for the exam.
How do most patients hook up with you? I mean, how do they know this?
The hospital calls us. So all the
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, the hospital is the one that that initiates that, right?
Yes, exactly.
If the patient wants it.
They call us either way. And of course, if the patient doesn't want us there, we leave. But they call us if there is a sexual assault victim that shows up at the hospital. And same with domestic violence victims. They call us for those as well. We also go on hospital response for family violence and child abuse.
Oh, okay.
It's the majority of our hospital calls are sexual assault.
Really? Huh. Not family violence?
No.
Huh. Wow, that's disturbing.
Any other questions about this program or HCWC in general that I haven't addressed?
Okay, so because Abbott is busy doing what he's doing, what kind of morning after pill? I mean, is there any kind of pregnancy prevention thing?
Yeah, so our hospital here in San Marcos, now that it's owned by Christus, they are not allowed to give out the Plan B emergency contraceptive anymore. Neither is Seton Hayes and Kyle. What we can do is we will have a gift card to Walgreens or CVS that we can give the person and let them know you can go purchase this over the counter at a pharmacy or Walmart. They do provide medication for STDs, as you mentioned, at the hospital.
But
And-
most patients get a gift card for the morning after pill.
Yes, if the hospital won't provide it, we can do that.
Only if they ask, or do you advocate for that, or what's just curious?
I think that's a little tricky. I think it maybe depends on the person responding. We don't have an agency policy about it. So I think it might depend on, if the person asks, then definitely. I know in general, we would offer it. And
Good.
it used to be offered at the hospital. So that was when it, when it was CTMC, we were used to that. And then when Christus took over, it changed. So we
A
just
lot of things
adjust.
changed when they took over.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're trained advocates, how many do you have, and is all of your staff, are they trained advocates as well? Is that a requirement?
Yes, so every staff member has to go through our advocacy training, which is an Office of the Attorney General certified training. So we are all trained advocates, all 50 of us. Once you've worked here for, I think it's 17 years, maybe 20, you can get off that hospital rotation. So we have a couple of staff members who no longer respond to hospital calls, but all the rest of us do. And then if we have volunteers who are interested in being an advocate for Heart Team, they can go through advocacy training, shadow someone the first time to kind of get used to what a hospital call is like, and then serve as a volunteer in that capacity.
Thank you.
We still have about 5 minutes. If you have any questions about this program or then also about Hayes Caldwell Women's Center in general. So anything else? Okay, I think with that, we will end this portion of the presentations, and we have one more presentation to go. So thank you very much, Carrie, for joining us.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm promoting to panelist our next speaker, so she'll need just a minute to come over, I think. Fine, okay. So Julia, I think you're just here to observe, is that right? I just wanted to check.
I'm sorry, say that again, Carol?
So we have a Julie, and then we have, which you're now a panelist, but we have a Julia logged in, and I just wanted to make sure she wasn't part of your presentation team.
No, I'm sorry. I did not intend to log on as a panelist. So that
Okay,
would be,
no worries.
that'd be
I'll
Julie.
put you back. Yeah, I'll leave you as an attendee then. Okay, we're good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
I love you anyway, Julia.
Yeah. Yeah, anyone is welcome to observe, of course. Okay, so then now we are to our last presenter. And this is Julia Haller. She is with San Marcos Youth Services Bureau, and she's asking for a facilities grant. And so Julie, if you'll go ahead.
Hi, how are you? I know the grant says it's a facilities grant, but it's actually facilities and help with the program. So there's a combination of those two things there. We on June 26th got a notification from Southside Community Center, which is where we have been for 20 years, not paying rent. They gave us a contract, a short-term contract, and we had to leave on June 28th. And we had to be out by August 15th with the office out on September 15th. So we had been toying with the idea of leaving the facility, but we thought we'd have till December because of the homeless population that's there on the grounds all the time. But we weren't prepared to leave quite this soon. We did happen to find, we have a new location. We've moved. I turned in my keys Friday. So we've been moving. We're up on Wonder World and Medical Parkway. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I don't know what.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. So for 20 years, we haven't had a line item for rent. So this year we need help with rent. It's $2,700 a month, which is an extremely good price. Most of the buildings we looked at, if they even leased to a nonprofit, they were charging $18 a square foot. So we are in a building, and this gentleman from New Braunfels was so impressed with the program, he has leased us the property for $5 a square foot. And so we just really need some help to help pay rent. We, of course, this came after our ability to apply for a grant through the county. We had looked at some of the city and county buildings because often we can get those kinds of buildings for free, or nonprofits can. We were not able to coordinate any of that. So we have rent and we have the expense of the insurance and all of that, which is not even included in the most recent budget because we didn't know we had to have $1 million worth of insurance. So that's kind of sort of where we are. We are an agency. We've been around since 1975. We are a prevention program. We help kids learn how to deal with different kinds of problems that come up. We also educate them on what does a healthy relationship look like? You know, what are some study skills, how to write goals, how to do things like that. In addition to that, we do volunteer work in the community. This summer, we partnered with ARSL and tried to teach them how to deal with people with disabilities. It's our second year of doing that. Also, we partnered with Brookdale to help them learn to deal with some of the older folks and do some things with them. And so we made it through this last year after Ruben Garza died, who was our greatest advocate, by writing a grant to the Berdine Johnson Foundation. And they understood that it was a difficult situation that we were dealing with, especially at the point last year when we thought we were going to get $4,000 from the city. And so anyway, it's been a very interesting year. We still served 20 kids last year, so I was happy about that. Any questions or comments at this point?
I have a few.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
on Medical Parkway last week and I saw y'all's sign.
Yeah, we got our sign
on the
last
roof.
week.
But I wanted to ask, could you share with us how many square feet y'all space is now and provide like a description of the space? Does it still include a kitchen? Do y'all have a computer lab, or is it just a single room?
No, I can't tell you off the top of my head about how many square feet. We have, the gentleman knocked out some walls for us, so we have a space for the kids, although it's smaller. We do not have a kitchen. We have a shared kitchen space because there will be eventually some additional offices that are occupied in the same building. We have 2 offices, 1 room for storage, and the main room where the kids will be. So it's not huge, but we have a little outside area that we're hoping to tidy up a bit and that's kind of it. We have a big parking lot that we can use, and we're going to have a big event probably on the 26th. So it's not a huge space, but that's what we got. I was hoping if we can earn a lot of money for the chili cook-off, that at some point we can knock out another wall and make a larger space for the kids. So I don't know. We'll see. This gentleman that's helping us, as far as he's concerned, he'd like to see the whole building full of YSB kids. So he's been very gracious.
Great, thank
But
you. And I
you-
have one more question.
Yeah.
So I know in the past y'all described a large barrier to accessing y'all services was being the location due to like transportation restrictions. Do y'all see with y'all's new location the possibility of it being more central for people to access?
You know what? I think I'm really excited because we are right in the middle of all these apartment complexes. So, and the apartments that I've had time to visit so far say, oh, we will send flyers. We want our kids to come. And also we're right across the street from Jimmy John's. So behind that is where they're going to be building that big apartment complex also. So we have apartments all up and down Wonder World, some right next door, some back in the back. So we're really hoping to get a lot of kids and some more volunteers, although we're still getting our volunteers from the university. So I'm very happy about that. We're far enough away from some of the schools that we should be able to be on the bus route. And we should be on the, I think we are on the bus route that goes through Carts also. And we're walking distance from Mendez if they cut through the field right there. So we're kind of excited about the space. I mean, the location. So yeah. We really are excited to be here. The other facility, although we're very grateful to Southside for what they've done for us, was getting difficult. The air conditioning wasn't working, so it was 90 degrees every day during the summer with AC on. We actually have air conditioning now. So, you know, it's just, and just the location and the fact that, you know, they lock their doors all day long now, you know, so it's getting a little more dangerous over there. So we're good. So any other questions? Our kids.
Sorry, Yancy has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I think you mentioned that last year you had 20 kids, that y'all serve, so are these 20 kids who come regularly? Do they come every, like, I don't know how many days y'all offer services, but.
We have service. I'm sorry. We have services 4 days a week, all through the whole year. With the exception of like Christmas, because they don't come. There's, but last year we had 27, this year we had 20. They were all different kids, all different situations. We have one mother who's taking care of her grandchild and two of her friends and a younger sibling. So the kids that come, you know, they really need encouragement, and those children are separated from other siblings that live in San Antonio. So, you know, they just really need some encouragement and some TLC, and to let them know that, you know, they'll be okay. And these parents and grandparents are supporting these children without the assistance of their parents for the most part. And so they come to me for services outside of YSB for recommendations. We send them to the youth council, or we'll send them, you know, to different locations to try to help fulfill their needs, the food bank and things like that.
What kind of extracurricular activities do y'all have for the kids?
We typically, not this summer, we didn't do much hiking this summer. It was really hot. We take the kids swimming. So in the summertime, especially, because the building was so hot, but we will take them swimming a couple of times a week. To the spring-fed pool in New Braunfels, to the pool here, anywhere where there's a lifeguard. We take them bowling, once or twice a summer. We'll take them to a movie once or twice. We don't spend a lot of money because we just don't have it. But, we do some volunteer work and feed the ducks at the park, and we do things like that. We built a tree house a couple of summers ago. We try to encourage activity and being outdoors and being aware of the benefits of taking care of the environment in general and how it can affect us and downstream and all of that. And we try to take them fishing. I want them to learn how to do things that don't cost a lot of money. So instead, we play dominoes, or, and I tell them, I said, when you're in college or when you're away and you don't have money to go out or to do anything, sit around and play some dominoes. I just try to teach them better ways of spending their free time in a productive way or a healthier manner. So.
Okay. And then, have you partnered with other organizations to come and like do presentations for the kids or come and do activities for them?
Yeah, I rely a lot on Centacor or ARSL. ARSL's been a great advocate in that when we will do a movie or a program and it shows the effect of treating somebody with a disability can be so hurtful. And then we've always used Centacor for some counseling and those kinds of things. But one of the beauties of this program is that we have a lot of volunteers from the university, and they always have special interests. We've learned how to slackline. We have learned how to play a Russian card game. We have, done all kinds of activities based on their interests and their passions, and it keeps everything fresh. We also have business partners that'll come in and talk about different kinds of careers and things that they can participate in. We've taken tours of banks, and they've walked through antique vaults, and they have the opportunity to ask the people that work there what kind of education they need. Or we'll take them to the glass blowing place in Wimberley, and they can watch them blow glass and learn that they need to have a master's degree in art to, be able to be in that kind of a career. And so I just try to expose them to anything and everything that I can, so that they can see a future, or they can find a passion, because otherwise they sit at home in their room on their phones. They don't really know what is out there for them to do. They don't know, they don't often know how to act in a socially acceptable way. We teach them, indirectly how to shake hands or fill out a job application, or how to be a part of an interview. There's lots of soft skills and social skills that they learn while they're here. And it typically is an advantage for them when they're going out to try to get a job. Their volunteer opportunities, we teach them how to put them on a piece of paper so that they can use that as a skill when they're applying for a job or university or whatever it is they're doing. So it's just this strange little program, but we seem to have a very positive impact on these kids. And I've been here for 20 years. So at some point, I have gotten kids of my previous kids because they appreciated the program so much.
Okay, thank you.
And I honestly didn't start timing when I should have started. I think we're at about 15 minutes, but we could
Okay.
always take a minute or two more if we need to.
Anybody else?
Gloria, you're on mute.
All right, okay. What age group primarily are you dealing with, or?
11 to 17, but if they're still in high school at 17, they're welcome to be in the program.
So it goes from 11 to 17, but it sounds like you know, it's more towards the teen years or something that you're seeing, or I mean, that's who's eligible, but I guess I'm wondering who's utilizing your services, what age group?
It really depends. Like last summer, I was trying to build a treehouse with, 20 of the 27 kids, they were 12. It
Yeah.
just kind of depends on the flow and what goes on. But, and I've had kids that are tugging at my shirt saying, but miss, I'm only 11. Why do I have to learn how to apply for a job? And I say, well, because I want you to feel comfortable doing it when you do get to the age that you have to do that.
Okay. And you're open 4 days a week
Mhm.
from when to when?
After school until 6:30 in the evening during the school year, and from 12 until 5:30 during the summer. Of course, I'm here on Fridays, but the kids aren't here.
Okay. And how many volunteers do they come and go, or just
Yeah, I have to
regular?
basically I have to retrain them every semester. I do have some that come and stay. I have one volunteer who started, I think, in 2006. She's now serving on my board of directors. So she has volunteered all of these years and continued to participate as a board member.
Yeah. So you typically have how many volunteers?
Oh, I have had anywhere from 7 to 25 in a year or more.
Ooh.
We have a
Oh.
lot of volunteers that will come for special occasions. We have hundreds of those. But
Oh.
as far as regular hours, typically 50 hours or more. My interns are 250 hours a semester, a lot of them.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions? Because we should probably wrap it up at this point. We're probably at about 17 or 18 minutes. Okay, all right, we will shut it down. Thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you all very much.
And I'm gonna go ahead and take your video down. Of course, you're welcome to stay and listen to the meeting as well.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, now hand it back to Sharif.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna go out to item number 6, discussion items. We will now hold discussion among board members on the programs, agencies, and applications for the purpose of clarification, comparison, evaluation, and assessment. This discussion is public, however, it is among the board members only. This time is meant to be a free flow of conversation, but please make your comments succinct to allow the time for all the board members to share if they wish. Discussion is going to be facilitated by Carol and myself, and then the housing community manager. So Carol, let's get going here.
Okay, so as usual, I'll just kind of open the floor. The purpose of the discussion is partly just to see what's memorable for you because you are seeing so many agencies and programs. And then also you could talk about, the relative merits of the different programs or whatever you need to sort out at this point in time. So I'll just kind of throw it out there.
HCWC was pretty straightforward in the information that they presented, so that was very much appreciated. I really didn't have a lot of questions for them just because I felt that had already been answered, either by other members who had asked questions or just in the information presented.
Monica, Gloria, Joanne, Clayton?
I should have probably come up with questions. How did this, just to see, like, you don't have to discuss at this point, but, I'd like to know, like, how did the presentation strike you as far as the need for these services compared to what you've heard so far?
I think just simply like what stands out the most for me is when you look at like the hierarchy of needs, the organizations we saw today were like addressing food insecurity and like just sense of like safety and well-being. So these to me just they were very straightforward, very informational and thorough, but for me, it's almost like no question how much we need these services. And for the food bank in particular, like it sticks out to me as someone who's college educated. I have a good job and still am struggling financially with the cost of inflation and prices for food. So any family with children, and I'm single and I don't have kids, I just know how important the resources they're providing are really needed in our community.
So just a couple things for me. The last one that we had, the San Marcos Youth Service Bureau, I wanted to tell her this, but she was already out. I actually appreciated how in 2022, you guys know how there was the extra funding from the federal government. So almost every organization requested more money or double money. They actually requested less, so that was pretty interesting for them. So they didn't, even though it's a need in the community, they didn't really just go and grab for more money. So that tells me that they know exactly where their money's going on that one. The women's shelter, the things that I mentioned during the conversation, I mean, I found two specific items where the cost to run the program were extremely high. Especially the banking one. I worked in banking for 10 years. $10,000 for banking when it should be $500, $600. So if I found two specific instances where the costs were extremely bloated, it made me kind of question the rest of them. And the only reason being because they're requesting double the money from the last previous few years.
Sharif, would that be relative to the size of their organization and the like amount of their entire organizational budget?
So that was
Because
another thing.
HCWC is a huge organization with tons of programming, so that's something that comes to mind for me.
But still, $16,000 for flood insurance when you don't need it, and $10,000 for banking services when it should be 500. It like $10,000. Again, I work in banking. Not even mid-sized corporations that are bringing $20-30 million have that much in expenses. So again, I didn't look at the rest of their costs specifically, but that kind of raised some concerns of how well the money is being spent, honestly.
Yeah, thank
I
you
actually
for
didn't-
raising those questions. That's definitely not my area of expertise, but I look forward to hearing what Carrie's able to gather.
And that didn't knock him on the score sheet that much, but that was interesting for sure. The food bank, I really like what they do with the money, and especially with how the entire county is growing in population. That's going to be something seriously that's needed. So those are the only kind of couple of things that I had.
Any comments from the old timers? The ones that have seen it all before?
I mean, probably with only a couple of exceptions, these agencies are gonna say that the need is greater. And it probably is, so, it's, a lot of, 500K doesn't go that far when you've got this many agencies, vying for money.
Now, another thing to consider, very, very strongly going forward is the San Marcos impact of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
right, I think so too.
A lot of these different organizations are county-wide. And when you look at their financials and everything, they're asking a huge amount from San Marcos, but not much from the county, not much from Kyle, Buda, and all these other places. So again, we have to be judicious with the taxpayer money for the people of San Marcos. That's what we have to be. So I'll keep that in mind, like the impact that they create for San Marcos, for the city.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when, it's a large agency, and if I ask, and sometimes it is a kind of a common question, how much of your money goes to serve San Marcos residents, or words to that effect. And I don't know if Carol thinks that that's appropriate. Feels like it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so we definitely want to remind them that funding can only be spent on San Marcos residents. And so when they're tracking.
They don't make that clear in their sometimes in their handout.
They may just assume it because that's a requirement, and so then when they're tracking, I realize we're not doing quarterly reports this year for a number of reasons, but when they're tracking their service, they have to track who they're serving so that we can see that the money's going to serve San Marcos residents. So we feel like, it's not easy to track. I don't know, it's not scientific precision, but they do keep track of the addresses of who they serve or where the kids came from, who are brought to their service, that sort of thing. And so we do get numbers on that.
Okay. I don't know. Last year.
And then some of it, I guess I would also say, some of the money goes toward a percentage of their salaries. And I just feel like, there's no direct connection, but those staff are serving San Marcos residents. So they kind of give us the information they can. Like they give us a description and then they give us some numbers.
Okay. Are we still sticking with the, if they're the
I think it's good.
first year out, they're not allowed to put any of the money towards salary, right? I'm just drawing from memory. I don't have my notes.
No, there's no restriction like that. Like they can always use the money for salary. The new restriction this year is that no more than 20% of a full-time job can be spent. I always want to remind people, it takes people to serve people. So these people are in the people service business. You have to have people. They're not buying things, they're serving people. So you pay for people.
So 20%, what was that figure again? What is it?
The new requirement from city council is that this funding will pay for no more than 20% of a full-time position. It could pay for all of a part-time position.
But that's just one position. What if there's multiple positions and they each need 20%?
Yeah, so that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Wow.
Yeah. Obviously, it's an interesting requirement, I think.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, well, and the word interesting is interesting. So you think that shouldn't be a thing or what? I'm just wondering.
Well, it's really up to city council. So they very specifically and strongly wanted that requirement. So we definitely put it in, absolutely. So Carol Griffith's personal opinion is not of importance, but I do like to point out it takes people to serve people.
No, I get, yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, so then, of course, the staff, now what we're seeing is the entities are providing numbers for additional staff people so that they can split it so that it's no more than 20% of their salary. So they're conforming with the request.
Hey, I'm looking at the flow sheet here that I copied it. I'm wondering how come there's under the 2024 request from Southside Center down, there's nothing in that column.
Let me look over your shoulder. What you are looking at,
So that likely means that,
scroll up,
that likely means that they didn't do a request for 2024.
yeah. For those specific programs. So for example, Southside, you'll see them. Oh, they have requests in, let me see where they are.
They just have that one, 70,000.
They
For the
just have-
specific assistance and shelter.
They just have one, they submitted one program request this year instead of the multiple requests. So
Oh,
yeah, so it is hard to look at because sometimes they change which program they're supporting, but it's still the same agency.
all right.
Now,
And then-
part of the reason why I'm playing the role of Grinch over here is, again, when we're looking at it, we have $1.4 million worth of requests, but only 500,000 that we can give out. So
Right.
we're gonna have to make a lot of hard decisions. So that's why I'm kind of harping on certain things, you know, like the specific impacts in San Marcos. Some requesting double the funding from last year, versus sometimes triple the funding.
And one thing I do want to let y'all know, I still haven't received confirmation, but I think we're gonna have 650,000 to allocate. I know, yeah, that's still not 1.4, I get it, but at least it's more than the 500,000. So I've got to get with the finance department and give y'all a final confirmation on that.
Yeah, well, and that was something that a lot of people that didn't like the what they received said, you know, we need to ask for more money. So I think that's a good idea. So if you don't want me to ask about this flow sheet, I can do it some other time, but
I'm looking at it too, Gloria, so
Yeah.
I haven't.
well, you know, like the Shive Center that, you know, hasn't asked for any money. I mean, there's nothing listed. There's no requests. So are they just didn't have they just didn't put in a request, or can I assume that even though some of these columns are blank, that these agencies have asked for money for 2024?
No,
No.
so if the column under 2024 is blank, they have not requested funding. So you have every request that came in for this year. And what I would also like to reassure you is we emailed everybody a notice that the applicant, like everybody who's on our list, right? A notice that the application was available and what the time period was to get it submitted. So we tried to send that notification to a really broad range of organizations, and then, of course, to every organization that's received funding in the past few years.
So if there's no 2024 request, they didn't make that cutoff.
They didn't ask. Yeah,
They didn't ask. That's interesting.
yeah.
That was okay.
Didn't this one have been brought into Senate court? They didn't request it.
Oh, yeah, probably so. If I need to reorder this to make it more sensible, let me know, because,
Just keep one.
yeah.
Because
I think
I
it's
just grabbed
helpful.
this
It
one
shows
sheet.
the history over the last 3 years where money went to different organizations at different times. So I appreciate this information.
Yes, it is helpful. That information. I just grabbed this one sheet okay.
Well, and I think what you're saying is Sharif was asking about Centacor, like there's one that's blank under 2024. What I did was, the reason they're blue is because they've had multiple program requests over the years. So I kind of wanted to draw your eye to like, okay, this is Centacor. Here's all their different programs and here's what they've gotten over the years. So if I had moved it down, you wouldn't necessarily see their whole history. So that's why you have some blanks in the 2024 line, is because I'm trying to group the organizations or group the requests under one organization.
So did the food bank eliminate the well, they didn't ask for 2022 was the last time they asked. The transitional unsheltered food bags?
It sounds like they're still doing it, doesn't it? So
It's
they
just a
did-
part of their regular programming.
That's what
Maybe
I
so.
think.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it sounds like they're definitely still doing it. They just didn't call it out as a special program for funding.
Okay.
Maybe they're like Southside, they've kind of collapsed it into one request.
Any other discussion items, questions, Clayton, Monica, Joanne? Y'all been really quiet this entire week. No, we're good, okay.
I'm good.
Um,
I'm good.
Okay, so I think we should be good for tonight. Let's go with number 6, the reports. It's now time to receive any updates from board members on activities since the last meeting. Does any board member have an update for the group? I know some people were gonna go check out some of the organizations or anything. No, okay.
Mm-mm.
Carol, I had a
Um,
question. I guess a clarifying question. Weren't we like encouraged not to do that? Is that still accurate?
That is still a thing. So
Mhm.
I do, what we're trying to emphasize is that all the board members get the same information all at the same time. And it especially came up like over the past couple of years, there had been a big transition. So before, a couple of years ago, the sites were all divvied up among board members and there were site visits and reports out and very specific process. And we wanted to shift completely away from that. So that's why you still see my little comment of like, yeah, we kind of discourage y'all from going to the sites. You can, of course, you know, and if you really feel the need to, absolutely. But we just want you to get the questions in as part of the public process. So use the time in the presentation and use the information they submitted that the public has as well, you know, as your main point of decision.
So
Okay.
there's 34 agencies, right?
Mhm.
Am I counting that right? 34?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And iron sharpen iron didn't ask for anything? That's weird. And a couple of the others that doesn't make any sense why they.
Yeah, I think from looking at this, a lot of them might have done a one-time request when those extra funds were out there.
Maybe.
And some of them, like for example, the Shave Center, looks like for the last 3 years they didn't request anything, so they might have found, you know, a grant somewhere else that is taking them through all these different years or something.
Well, and I think a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them, like consolidated instead of presenting different programs that fall under their umbrella. It kind of looks like they might have consolidated it, so which is great because makes it simpler, I think.
So we're gonna move on to the next, the future agenda items. Board members may provide requests for discussion items for future agenda in accordance with the board's approved bylaws. No further discussion can be held and related to the topics proposed until they are posted on a future agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Any board member want to request any agenda items for the future? Okay, thank you. So we're gonna move on to the question and answer session with the press and public. Anybody out there? No, no, looks like it was just us. Okay, And so we're gonna move to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for participation. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion from Yancy. Do we have a second?
Second, I just want to say I can hear you guys real good.
Good,
Okay,
that's great.
so we got a second from Gloria, so all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed to adjourning?
No.
So we're adjourning the meeting at 7:46 PM on September 21st. See you guys next Thursday.
All
Thanks, all.
righty. Today,
Hey, thank you.
bye.
Bye.